Let's take a look at a few examples at California Community College districts. This one is the College of Marin, where STV-VBN is working on several projects. We see live data here and also the planning of several new buildings, it looks like. A new center here, it's called New Academic Center, and there's a Science and Math Central building here. Which we'll look in a little bit more detail. As in other Fusion connections to the Onuma system, these buildings also have facility condition index and deficiencies available, hitting the Fusion server and looking at, for example, floor finishes. We'll color code the buildings with problem areas. So this one is for floor finishes, ceiling finishes. If we look at cooling and generating systems, the science center has problems, etc. So let's zoom into this science math building here and look at a floor plan. This one actually has been populated quite a bit with a lot of data, actually, with a lot of equipment data from STV-VBN, and it has a COBE compliant export from the Onuma system, which will export the spaces and attributes about spaces and the equipment data that we see color-coded inside these spaces. You'll notice that some of the equipment is actually located more precisely. Other ones are located with the knowledge that they exist in a room, but you still get valid data regardless of the level of detail of information that's placed in the spaces. This building as well has a 3D view, as do all of the other Fusion Onuma buildings in the California Community College District, so we can actually see the building here, and say we want to see all the floors, for example, and zoom into that location and see the geometry of the building as well as the attributes about individual space, so the reception waiting area, for example, in the Google Earth plugin, reading data directly off of the Onuma system and Fusion. The other thing that we have here, it's a mashup, right? So we have Google Earth, we have Fusion, we have the Onuma system. When we drill down to the individual space level, we have something that's pretty interesting. We can actually go and look at individual equipment here, and this just came in just last night. It was activated. So if we look at the display tab here, there's a link to an OrcaNet display that is live sensor data coming in. So here's, let's actually look at the list first. Here's the list of all the equipment that's reporting data about this particular piece of equipment, HP10, for example. And so these are the individual pieces of equipment, but I can go back into HP10 and load up the information about this particular unit, and it has current activity, and it's running. The temperature sensors are showing, and there's a lot more that you can do directly in this. So we can also look at a trend log, generate on the fly, generating charts live up until just a few minutes ago. I believe this is 1 minute data. I'm not quite sure because this is a new set of data that just came in from this sensor. And there's also a schedule where you can actually, it looks like you can actually schedule events on a calendar. I'm not sure exactly how to use this, but you actually have a view into that. So directly from within the model of the Fusion Onuma system interface, we're able to get to some pretty powerful data in a mashup format that allows us to view equipment, and I believe there might even be some controls here. I haven't looked at it very closely yet because this just was activated just last night. Okay, so this shows you the power of a mashup of, doesn't matter where the data comes from, as long as the different systems can talk to each other in an open format, and as long as we have a floor plan from Fusion with the correct room names and room numbers, then we can start associating a lot of other data, such as the sensor data we're just looking at, into that, and the scheduling, etc. Very powerful concept. Now let's look at another view of data here. This is actually the Solano Campus, and these are the actual buildings. Again, STV VVN has been working on this project. A couple things here. We also have Google, you see this Google satellite view. So this is Google satellite imagery coming in. In addition to that, there's other GIS data available as well. So let's turn off some layers just to see what's going on here. We have buildings coming in from the Fusion GIS server. So this is what these black buildings are coming from. The floodplain data was just added recently from the Foundation's Fusion GIS server. So this is a floodplain and also earthquake fault. So these are layers that are coming from their GIS server. And then if we turn let's actually look at Esri topographic map. This is another GIS server. So about 3 or 4, actually 4 GIS servers here hitting the same view, delivering data into a interface that allows us to see Fusion buildings and planning scenarios that are happening on Solano, sitting on top of GIS data. So here's the Esri GIS map in the background. Again, the floodplain map coming from the Fusion server, the background streets coming from Esri, the buildings, these particular buildings are coming from the Onuma server. The GIS outlines of the buildings are coming from the the Foundation's GIS server. And a new layer actually was added from CSW Stowe, utility layers. So we have another server now, a GIS server with utility data streaming in live. So this is a mashup of 3 different GIS servers. And then if we turn the buildings back on, we can run scenarios and say, okay, what happens if we're planning for a new building, which is exactly what we're doing here. We're saying this is a new building right here. Where can we place it on the site? We want to really place it right there, but we're noticing that there are GIS layer utility lines showing there. Is that really a good location to place it, or should we move it over here? So having all of this data at your fingertips allows you to zoom in and say, okay, we see that there are utility lines there. Maybe we place it there, or maybe we want to move it over here. There's different factors obviously involved in a decision like this, but having this data at your fingertips allows you to make those decisions. So this is a mashup of multiple tools, multiple data sets, multiple GIS layers viewed in the Onuma system. Let's drill further into this building here and look at the floor plan of the building. This is actually color-coded by floor type, similarly to what we saw before. And there's also even other color coding standards like space classifications, either from the Foundations or from a standard called CCFC that's used for healthcare planning. If this is a clinic, for example, you can do a lot of different things with this, and you can also look at this in 3D to view the building, as well as if we turn on the GIS. In fact, let's go back to the GIS layer here and just look at this in 3D with the GIS layers that were brought in from the CSW Stowe GIS server data, copied into the Onuma system layers. And now these blue lines that we're seeing here are actually the utility lines that were pulled into BIM from the utility lines that came from the GIS data from CSW Stowe. So pretty exciting stuff here. And we looked at the floor plan of the building. We also have, in this particular building, we have a different set of sensors. If we go into this space and look at the layout of this space with equipment, this building has several thousand pieces of equipment already populated in it as the design progresses, or as the design is complete. So if we go into, this is a completed design situation, we have so in this equipment space, we have a camera that's displaying a live feed of here's the current situation. This is a live camera in this room, a webcam inside this BIM, inside the Fusion Onuma system. And in that room there are lights, and these lights actually have specifications attached to them. So this is very detailed COBE related data in a COBE format in the Onuma system. But we also have a display that opens up another view into live data coming in from the integral sensors and controls. So this shows historical data about how much energy has been used, or if we want to go into this light and say, well, let's actually turn that light on, it's going to ask us for a password, and we can actually turn that light on and off directly from within the interface in the BIM. So this is building information modeling, view of data and controls merged together and mashed together from many different tools. Again, no single tool can do all of this. It really is important to realize what we saw earlier with the sensors is coming from a different company, and this particular sensor is coming from another company controlling a light, for example. So these kind of smart building data allow us to manage information about a building, make decisions about how to schedule spaces, connect them back into the Fusion data so we can start monitoring energy either at a room level or zooming all the way back out to the site plan level, mashing in data coming in from utility data from a GIS server, and then having all of this at your fingertips to either plan for new facilities, manage existing facilities, or move a proposed building around, like this one actually is a proposed building. We're actually moving that around again too, or decide that, well, we really don't want to build this building. We can just hit delete and it goes away. So that's an overview of what's going on that's exciting this year at the Solano Campus and Marin Campus with SDV VBN. A lot of teams working together, Onuma team, CSW Stowe with the utility and civil information.